an act of God or aliens.
Eavesdroppin.
Michelle, hello.
Hello, Georgette. How are you?
I feel like it's Oklahoma weather. That song.
Why?
Feels like we're on stage doing a musical because we both raised our arms
to
say hello.
But we're so theatrical like
in a
that.
musical theatre style, innit?
Indeed. Do you know what? I went out the other night, tried to go dancing, but I was with a group of 20-year-old boys.
Oh. What were you doing hanging out with them?
Oh, they're in town and, we went out.
They're in town? What, they come to visit Auntie Michelle?
Uncle Andreas. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yes. So we went out and this guy, not one of the 20-year-olds, but this dude just came up, started holding my hand, would not let it go.
What?
Was trying to hit on me. Andreas is standing right there. Andreas starts putting his arm around me, starts kissing me.
I like a big fight over Michelle on the dance floor where all the men are doing like really proud robots and stuff. Look at me, Michelle.
Yeah.
Do you remember all the boys used to, the discos, they all used to do Peter, what's his name? Peter Garrett from Midnight Oil. Looks like he's like having an electric shock.
Yeah.
West Forces, give the nod. Sorry, your story. Go on.
No, I love that. But the thing is that all these boys, these young Swedish boys, noticed that this guy would not leave me alone. And they told me that there's this Swedish dance that it's kind of like the help me. And you've got your arm up here and you're doing like a wave, like help, rescue me. So they showed me the rescue me dance, and that's what I need to do. And in fact, that's almost what we looked like, the rescue me dance, when we said hello. Yes.
Michelle, I've got to ask you a question. You're a grown-up woman. You're a big lady now. You're a grown-up. You're an adult. Could you not just take your hand back?
I did.
Just get off.
I did. I was like, no, dude. I actually even physically pushed him. Did not get the hint. Did not get the hint with Andreas's arm around me. Did not get the hint when Andreas slapped a smooch right on me.
I mean, the simplest thing would be just not let him hold your hand, surely. I mean, you're a very assertive person. I've seen you on the phone to the takeaway when they got it wrong.
Oops.
And Amazon.
Yes, I know. Yeah, but you know what? When they tell you one thing, they do another. There has to be some kind of accountability. Anyway, no, this guy, I don't know what was wrong with him. The only reason was I actually thought it was Andreas like slipping a little hand into mine during the crowd, and then I turned around. I'm like, who the hell are you? Fuck off!
Oh my God! So you actually willingly took the hand, thinking, oh, it's my fiance, and then when you turned around, it was a different person. How shocking!
It was shocking. Dude did not even get the message anyway.
But that's nice, Michelle. You're still turning heads in the discotheques.
In the discotheques of Zermatt. What was that guy thinking?
I don't know.
That's what happened to me when I went out with 20-year-olds.
Fun. Good times.
Time.
I need to give a shout out to a new listener because he's going to help me with my essay. His name is Mark of Rains Park. I'm going to call him Rains Park Mark. Shout out. Shout out.
You're getting a shout out.
So shout out to him. He's a new listener. I hope we keep him.
Oh, we will. I mean, who doesn't want to listen to conspiracy theories, aliens,
swearing, and old ladies forgetting things? I won't say old ladies. And ladies of certain period. No, I won't even say that. That's
Don't
wrong
say
too.
Period.
Okay, ladies like ourselves, getting things wrong, getting facts wrong, getting words wrong.
I mean, we've made up words. Entertainment.
Triton. I mean, what's Triton? We both said Triton in a recent episode because I'm doing some clips for the Podcast Awards. People, I don't know if you can actually vote for us, even if we get in. But once we do, we want you to vote for us. Whether you like it or not, you must vote. But we did make up a word, Triton, when talking about sea monkeys.
And we both were looking at each other going, yeah, it's a Triton.
Yeah,
it's a Triton.
Triton. What the fuck is a Triton?
I mean, clearly we were obviously trying to say trident.
Yeah.
But we both were like, yeah, Triton.
Yeah, Triton.
Yes. And entertaining, that's always a good one.
Entertaining, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, welcome, Mark, to our world. And yes, you can eavesdrop on us. In fact, Mark's not the only one who can eavesdrop on Michelle and I. You all can. Hang on. Did you know it's not Michelle and I anymore? That's old-fashioned. It's Michelle and me.
I don't like that. Come on. I want correct grammar. Correct grammar, please. Why? Why are they changing that? What's the point?
I don't know. No one sent me the memo.
No. And I will continue to say Geordie and I. Geordie and I.
I and Geordie.
I and Geordie. No.
That doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
That's wrong.
You're wrong.
It's wrong. Just more wrongness to come. Start as we mean to go on with the wrong.
Well, I've got quite a lot of wrongness coming up, so...
I can't wait.
What kind of wrongness have you got for me?
Well, listen, I just want to tell you a little something that I read about this week. It actually happened last year. In fact, everything I'm going to tell you today happened in October in 2021. This particular incident I found in my favourite little resource manual for our podcast. Yes, it's the Fortean Times.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Daily Star.
It's either the Fortean Times or the Daily Star. On this account, it was the Fortean Times. And it was about a guy, and it was also in the Sun and other very illustrious reading materials. In October 2021, which was last year, a man in Windsor in the United Kingdom, he was outside in the sunshine. It must have been a late bit of that Indian summer vibe going on. He was in his garden enjoying it. And a passenger plane flew overhead and something went very, very wrong, Michelle.
Oh, no. What?
Well, do you know that there are actually a few incidences every year where, you know, when you go to the toilet on an aeroplane, you think, where does that go? Because obviously it's been sucked out, isn't it, into something.
Yes, into a waste container.
Into a waste container, that's right. And at the end, when they land, then they get rid of that waste. But sometimes there are toilet leaks whilst the plane is in the air. Do you know sometimes you feel that little bit of a wet splash on you sometimes when you're out and about? Do you ever get that? I think that's a bird wee wee. I don't know. I think it's bird wee. But anyway, there's this thing called... It's called blue ice. I don't know if you've heard about it. I know you've got a friend in the aeronautical industry. Why don't you ask her? But it's called blue ice. Occasionally it comes flying out of the... it leaks, basically. It's sewage material that's leaked mid-flight from commercial aircraft toilets. And it's a mixture of human poo-poos and liquid disinfectant that freezes at high altitude. So it comes down quite frozen.
So that's why it's blue. Because...
It's blue.
I mean... The glacier is full of blue ice, but that's because it's like thousands of years old.
And you're skiing on that.
It's not disinfected and shit. It's actual, like, prehistoric ice. It's the glacier.
Right. Well, anyway, something went extremely wrong for this poor chap in Windsor because slurry, wet slurry, not even frozen, not even blue, came hurtling from the sky, covering his garden furniture, and him.
And him. No. Oh, my God.
I mean, how shit. That's a shitty day.
It's a juice dropper.
That's a juice dropper. Oh, my God. So I don't know what happened there. I think his council were up in arms. What can you do? You can't stop. You can't stop the plane and say, hey, you're leaking something. You can't. The damage is done. Sorry. It is
done. I mean, you could contact the airline, but... You know.
How would you know which one it was unless you've got really good eyesight?
I know. Oh, that poor guy. Because you can't sue anyone, really. Because it's an act of God.
Speaking of acts of God, my story today, Michelle, is a little bit like that. It's a little bit to do with God.
Okay.
Just a little bit. Again, in October 2021, right? There's this guy. He's Pastor Kevin. His name's actually Pastor Kevin Smith. And I think I've seen it somewhere else as Kevin O. Smith. I don't know what the O stands for. We can make that up at the end when you've heard this story, Michelle.
Oh, dear, maybe.
It's quite shocking. Trigger warning. There are deaths. Sorry about that.
True crime.
It's true. It's a bit true crimey. It's a bit culty. It's a bit culty, Michelle.
I'm loving this because I've got something for you too.
Have you? Right.
Ooh.
Well, let me tell you this little story that I came across. First of all, in the Fortean Times, and then I found some more information in some Jamaican papers because this all happened in Jamaica. That's right. No, he didn't go of his own accord. Jamaica. Oh, no, I've ruined that joke.
What? Oh, was that a joke?
Jamaica?
Terrible joke.
She went of her own accord. That's the joke.
Jamaica? No.
She went of her own. Yeah, let's not go there. Anyway, it's in Jamaica, Montego Bay to be precise. There's a song about that.
Montego Bay.
Oh, that's the one. So there's a church. It's called Pathways International Kingdom Restoration Ministries. It's in Montego Bay, as I mentioned. Now, Pastor Kevin O. Smith, he was killed in a car crash. Killed in a car crash while being transported to Kingston, Jamaica, by police. And not only he died, but 3 other policemen were also rushed to hospital with injuries, and 1 other policeman did die in this crash.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a feeling that Pastor O'Kevin...
He's up to no good.
Yeah, if he's in the back of a police car...
Yeah. Well, your hunch was correct, Michelle. You're right on the money on that occasion. The police had earlier raided his church after they were tipped off to... human sacrifices being conducted by more than 144 people. Some children were in there as well, all of them dressed in white robes.
Like me right now.
Like you, Michelle.
Right now, I'm in the white robe.
I doubt they were terry toweling white robes like yours is with a hood. Maybe. I don't know. There wasn't a lot of info. The best information was from 14 Times. The actual Jamaican newspaper reports that I'd read, not so much info.
Okay.
So anyway, Pastor Kevin, as we'll call him, he'd earlier posted a message that day on social media, or maybe it was before the day, asking his followers to leave their phones at home when coming on Sunday service. But one of the members, luckily, had snuck a phone in and had called the police after witnessing this attack or these attacks.
Well, I think we could also say human sacrifices by the sounds of it.
Attacking, yes, exactly.
Okay,
So the church was a pretty normal church by all accounts.
I don't think so.
Well, for most members, up until a point, right? And I'm going to explain to you when it all went a little bit wrong with Pastor Kevin. So Pastor Kevin Smith would normally do the usual community pastor duties like performing marriages and baptisms, delivering sermons, all the usual things you can imagine that a normal pastor might do. But he was different from most pastors, Michelle, because he would have visions and predict people's deaths.
Oh my God. I mean, if that really was a gift, that's a terrifying gift. I mean, imagine if Hazel, the psychic real estate agent, could look at you and go, I know when you're going to die.
Unlike Hazel, who does not abuse her power and her talents,
No.
Pastor Kevin O. Smith, he would kind of exploit it, really. And he liked to be called things like His Excellency, Daddy, and Father.
Needs to have sex with all those young girls in the congregation.
I'm not sure about the sexual aspect. Sexual. I really am turning into Toast of London.
But I have to say, anybody who wants to be called Daddy, come on.
Yeah, Daddy or Father.
I'm just saying.
Father.
Yeah, Father I get because he's a pastor. Father.
What about His Majesty? He also liked that.
Yeah, he can go fuck himself. Anyway.
Well, he thought he was the king, basically. Yeah. And he would demand money of his followers. And if they didn't pay, that's when his magical powers would kick in, Michelle.
Oh, and he would say, I know when you're going to die next week at the congregation.
Basically, if you don't cough up that cash, mister, you're going to cark it, was what he would probably say. Also, the congregation would have to ask his permission in order to go on holiday, because without it, he would say to them that you will not pass through immigration. And also, them and their family would all suffer. It wasn't just a direct threat, it was onto their families as well.
He's a master manipulator.
Mm-hmm. I hear you, Michelle. 2 weeks before the day of the incident, Pastor Kevin had started to behave strangely and his sermons took a dark turn. So he told his congregants that Emperor Haile Selassie was God and that they could listen to music by Sizzla, Queen Ifrica, Capleton, Buju Banton and Beanie Man and other reggae acts. Now, do you know who Haile Selassie is?
Yes.
He's the emperor. He was the Ethiopian king. He's like the father of the Rastafarian religion, possibly. I may have that wrong.
I think you are wrong with that. I mean, obviously, Haile Selassie he's famous. His name is famous.
Yeah.
But, don't ask me about the details.
Yeah, we're not strong on the details, and I didn't do any investor Googling on this front, but I do know that he's not God.
No, he's not.
He's not God. And also the music that they were being told they could listen to, which was your average kind of Jamaican dance hall things, were kind of off kilter for the normal kind of music that you would be. It's non-secular, basically, is what it was described as. So it's not really religious kind of
music.
fair. No. Buju Banton, he is one of the most famous dancehall acts. Do you remember this guy? Boom Boom Batty Boom Boom.
No, I don't. But he
had
great.
that song. Well, he's not great because that song was about shooting homosexuals and killing them.
Oh,
so
Jesus.
That wasn't he. I remember that in the 90s he was quite well known for that. So I don't know what his take on homosexual activity is now and being open and welcoming to the gay communities, the LGBTQ plus communities, but I doubt he is very open. I can't speak for him though. He may have turned it around. Who knows? We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know these things.
No.
So anyway, going back to Pastor Kevin. So he was telling them to listen to all this music. He's saying that Haile Selassie was God. He also said they could smoke the ganja because it can carry them to a higher level of consciousness. So it's all out. Just go nuts, guys. This might be church, but we don't mind if you're going to smoke on a doobie. We don't mind you listening to Batty Boom Boom. We don't mind at all. So just go nuts.
Okay, can I ask, is Pastor Kevin Jamaican?
Yes. He was anti-vax, surprisingly. And he believed, not only was he an anti-vaccination guy, follower, believer, whatever you'd like to call it, he also believed that the vaccine was the mark of the beast. And anyone who took it would be cut off from God. That's it. No way up to heaven. You're out. You got that vaccine, you can fuck off to hell.
What is up with this? I mean, regardless of what anyone, believes about being vaxxed or not vaxxed, I mean, that is terrifying that he is telling these impressionable people in his congregation that, he has the answer as to who's going to heaven and who's not.
Yeah, his community.
Clearly it doesn't, you obviously know I don't even believe in heaven or hell, but these people that do, they're putting a lot of faith and trust into this guy.
He has a lot of followers, Michelle. He has a lot of followers. So he also told them, his congregation, to sell their fridges and televisions because they were being spied on through them. Your fridge?
How is when you go open it up to get a beer or something?
I don't know.
Who's spying on you in the fridge?
And how much are they going to know about what you're up to just by opening the fridge door? Perhaps it's not the opening of the fridge door that sparks the camera up. Maybe it's just always on watching you. Well,
or maybe this guy needs some mental health help here. I'm just putting that out there, potentially.
It's a possibility, but sadly we'll never know about that, will we? Because he carked it right at the beginning of the story, so we know he doesn't make it.
Right, so he died in that car accident.
He died in the car accident.
Oh, yes, you did say that.
With the policeman,
sorry.
yeah. So that's spoilers, not really spoilers. That's just where I started the story. Anyway, so Pastor Kevin had convinced members of the church that a great deluge was coming. Very similar to the rains that came for 40 days and 40 nights way back in the times of the Ark, you see. And that they all, so they all needed to start fasting for 2 days before it hit on the Monday after his sermon that he was planning to give, where they had to come without their phones, etc., etc. So on the day of the incident, like I said, it was a Sunday, witness statements said that it's about 2:30 in the afternoon. Pastor Kevin Smith arrives at the church compound and began shouting that he is God. Haile's out, Kevin's in. So Haile Selassie is no longer God, it's now Kevin. So he's shouting that he is God in the flesh and that they should come into the ark before it closes, referencing the church compound. Yeah. So in his mind, the church had become the ark, and he was, not even Noah, he was bigger than that, he was God.
He was God. There were no 2x2s. He was God knows what.
No clue. I'll tell you what happened. The witnesses also said that people were allowed to enter the building, but only after Smith called their names from a list that he had in his hand. And once they turned up, he'd have them sign against their names 999, and then he would countersign beside their names 999.
Okay, so what's that got to do with anything? I mean, because
I don't know.
999.
999. It's like not 666, is it? 9.
9.
No, it's 9. Like the number 9.
Yeah, but
Not a German,
right.
no.
9. I think we I think we need to look up what 999 might mean in
Apologies, I didn't do that.
in religious context. I don't know, maybe nothing.
Well, it's the opposite of 666, isn't it? It's upside down.
Well, it is, but do you think he just got it wrong? I don't know. I mean, he sounds a bit wrong.
Know.
Let's see what happens.
It's a weird little detail to add, isn't it? I just put it in there because it was there. So I thought,
Yeah.
I'll say that too. So anyway, back to all these witness accounts. Witnesses did claim that Smith told the members of the church to throw out all tissues, wipes, and soaps. There was fridges and all sorts in the compound. It was like everything had been chucked out. It was madness. Then, this is from another account. There were naked men and men tied with cord all around, and there was chickens running around and goats running around inside the church compound. It was mayhem. The scene was chaos, basically.
But I mean, I know this is in Ethiopia.
No, it's in Jamaica.
Yes, I know, but I was going to say when I was in Ethiopia, chickens and goats are everywhere. It's actually not a big deal. They're just walking down the main street. So I don't know.
Yeah, he did have a lot of animals on the compound. But anyway, he was getting everyone to throw all their wipes and tissues and stuff away. That's weird. As they did this is inside the church, a bottle of wine broke. And about 20 minutes after that, Smith told the congregation member, a guy called Kevon Palmer, not Kevin, Kevon Palmer, that whoever was in front of the wine, Kevon Palmer should cut that person's throat so that they can enter the kingdom.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's horrifying.
Yeah, it's pretty horrifying. And he instructed Kevon Palmer to cut the throat of several members of the congregation.
And what did Kevon do?
Well, you'll find out in a minute. So Smith then told another man that in order to enter the kingdom, Palmer would have to cut his throat as well. So he's just going around telling people, right, you need to get your throat cut. Right, you have to get your throat cut as well. Kevon, over here. So this man who was told by Smith that Kevon needed to cut his throat knelt down in front of Pastor Kevin, and he handed the knife to Palmer, I think, to Kevon Palmer. But then the man kind of got scared and ran outside with another member of the congregation. But Palmer chased them and stabbing and slashing them both as they ran. So what? Kevon Palmer was actually worked for the church. I'll get to more of that later.
Okay.
Yeah, but he's chasing them, stabbing, slashing. It's all kicking off now. So at this point, other members of the church, they lay down of the ground and covered themselves. So when they say in the article I read that senior church officials were armed and preventing churchgoers from leaving, I'm assuming it's people like Kevon and other helpers who were really into Kevin O. Smith's sermons and really followed him. Yeah. And they were stopping people from going. So there was no way out, really. Then Pastor Kevin O. Smith then smashed all the glass on the altar and the windows, and then he handed a man a knife and told him that he was Michael the Archangel. And then he gave another man called Andre Ruddock a knife and told him that Andre was Archangel Gabriel. Right. Sorry it's so confusing, but I think, to be fair, if you were there, it was quite confusing. I think it was mayhem.
I don't think anyone had a clue. And do you know what? This is clearly so premeditated, because the fact that he asked people not to bring their phones, dude knew what he was doing.
He was going to kill everyone in order for them to get into the kingdom of heaven. So Andre Ruddock was actually the guy who was working for Smith as an employee. He took care of Smith's animals, including the 17 goats, some cows, and I guess some chickens as well. And he also worked as a handyman in and around the church compound. Okay. And Michael Brown, who's another member of the church, who was a congregant, he had health issues, and that meant that he had all these tubes and stuff attached to his body. Oh. So Smith told him during all the mayhem, you have to die, but you will rise again because I am the resurrection and the light. So then Kevin O. Smith, Pastor Kevin, then yanked all the tubes out of Michael's body.
Oh, poor Michael. Michael's a goner.
He didn't make it.
No, of course not.
No. There's a woman who walked in halfway through all this kicking off. Her name's Tanika Gardner. She arrived at the scene, was in full swing, and she was asked by Pastor Kevin O. Smith, do you believe that I am the resurrection and the life? And she said, yes. So she's a believer.
Yeah.
And then he said, do you believe I can raise you from the dead? And she said, yes, absolutely. So then he said, your blood has to be cleansed and I will have to cut your throat. And she said, yep, okay, bring it.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, she was so brainwashed. She thought she was going to die and rise again.
That's right.
Fuck me.
It's shades of Jim Jones in Guyana, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Drinking the Kool-Aid, or a version of. So Smith then told the man from before to cut Miss Gardner's throat. And he said no and tried to run away. But then Andre Ruddock walked over to Tanika. She knelt down so that she could let Andre cut her throat. And
so she's willing participant in this.
Yeah.
This
absolutely.
Death. Oh my God.
Witnesses say that she didn't even scream. She never made a sound.
Hang on. Did he cut her throat?
She did make a sound, but it wasn't like intentional.
But did he cut her throat?
Yes, he cut her throat.
Oh.
Sorry. Trigger warning.
I didn't realise. I still had hope that she'd come to her senses or ran away or something.
No. People died.
Oh,
so then the police arrived, right? At this point, so somebody must have made the phone call during all this hecticness. Once the police arrived, they shot Kevon Palmer dead, as another one of the followers was currently being stabbed by Kevon Palmer. So he was stabbing someone in the back. And as the police walked in, they saw this, shot Kevon Palmer in the back. And also this poor man was also getting his throat cut, I think, at the same time. It was just chaos. I mean, I can't even make sense of it myself, obviously. Clearly, it was just mental. So then there was Andre Ruddock, who was the other perpetrator, apart from Smith, Ruddock. I think there may have been others, but mostly it was Smith, Ruddock, and Kevon Palmer, Andre Ruddock. He later confessed to killing Tanika Gardner. So he made it. He didn't get shot by the police.
Okay.
He later confessed, and he said it was on Smith's command that he did kill her.
On Pastor Kevin's command.
Yeah, exactly. And was ordered by the judge to undergo a psychiatric evaluation in his trial when it eventually happened.
Probably a good thing.
Exactly. But the bizarre timing of Pastor Kevin's death on the way to the cells, some people think that he knew too much. It was all a setup. Some people really still follow him and believe him. And others think he's actually still alive and that the whole thing was faked.
Oh.
So this is quite massive.
Did anyone actually see the body after this supposed car crash?
Well, I don't know. Possibly they did. But there was a funeral home where he was lying in state in the days after he died. The people who lived near it refused to walk past. Some say that they had paranormal activity occur. And these people in Kingston, probably, I'd say, because he died in Kingston, unless he was moved back to Montego Bay. But they're not necessarily followers. They just felt completely spooked by the fact that his body was in there. I think he kind of became this mythical, scary person, a bit like I said before, Jim Jones, because obviously I grew up having seen those pictures of those bodies lying out after Guyana. Yeah, it's kind of, you just get this feeling, don't you, that something's up.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, it would have been splashed all over the headlines. Everyone would know about this case and what went down. So I can also imagine people just feeling uneasy, knowing that this guy who basically ordered the massacre of a whole room full of people is lying dead, like in the funeral house near where they live. So I kind of get it, but the paranormal activity that people say they experienced. Hysteria. Maybe.
I put that down to it. So anyway, that's my story of Kevin O. Smith and his church, which I can't remember the name of, and him trying to convince everybody to do what he wanted in order for him to kill a room full of people. The end.
Now that's a sweet ride.
Eavesdropper.
Now that's a sweet ride.
Eavesdropper.
I'm confused.
Don't drop your juice.
Well, wow. Thank you. That is quite a story. I wasn't really expecting that. Well, I mean, it's quite interesting because you had sort of given me a little heads up on, look into acts of God. And I was thinking, acts of God, okay.
I'll tell you what I was thinking. And in that moment, it was because of what's going on in Ballina and Lismore and Byron Bay right now. They're getting flooded again in Australia. And also because of the fact that Kevin Smith was threatening his townspeople, his congregants, with the Great Flood.
Yeah.
End days. Yeah.
So I started off looking at this I'd remembered there was an article from a few weeks back, and so I looked it up, and it was all to do with like the Ukraine, and it was considered an act of God. So apparently, and this, like, you know, full disclosure here, this is from the Daily Star.
Oh, how can you be sure it's not just all made up, Michelle? They often just make shit up.
I know they do. And I always get sucked into, you know how underneath the article they have, click on this, and they always have like clickbait headlines. I always get sucked into that. But anyway, so this particular article, it's from the 7th of March this year, so just a few weeks ago.
Nice and recent.
Yeah. And apparently in the Ukraine, a group of Russian tanks were supposedly destroyed by a mystery UFO attack.
What?
Yeah, right? So apparently this UFO swooped in to save Ukrainian troops from approaching Russian tanks, and they called it a miracle lightning attack, according to a correspondent. And it's been reported as an act of God because the lightning attack apparently supposedly happened as families of Ukrainian forces prayed for help. And this was all revealed on live on TV by Konstantin Litvinenko. I'm sorry, I probably said that wrong. He is the Ukraine director for news on CBN, right?
Okay.
And he apparently made this claim that there's like a program, which is like a news program called the Global Lane. And he said a Ukrainian soldier on the front line called his dad in the middle of the night as Putin's troops were approaching in tanks. And the dad asked members of his church to pray for help. And out of nowhere, there was a lightning attack that wiped out the oncoming Russian tanks, saving the Ukrainian troops.
Michelle?
Yeah.
Do you remember only a few weeks ago, we were talking about a story, and I don't know if this was Patreon or not. Where did we talk about the fact that there is what was it that's buried underneath?
Yeah, the arcs.
The arcs. The alien arcs.
The alien
and
arcs.
they're all in the area.
Oh my God,
where
I hadn't
they're
even
fighting
thought
right
about
now.
that. Had not even thought about that. I hadn't even connected like this whole idea of the alien arcs. But yeah, because listen, after this surprise lightning attack that night, the soldier, and I will say that I did go all through the internet trying to find the name of this soldier, but his name is not revealed anywhere. Make of that what you will. Apparently he calls his dad back and says, oh, look, there was an attack by a spaceship and everything was like shooting out of the sky and there were sparks and lightning everywhere. And we didn't know what was going on. But when morning came, they realized this spaceship had destroyed the Russian tanks. And according to the article, the consensus among the Ukrainian troops was that the tanks were absolutely demolished. Now, some of the troops say, look, it could have been weapons that no one has ever seen before, which is scary. Or they're saying it was an act of God or aliens. So I don't know what it was, but and who even knows, like, if this is real or not, because it is a Daily Star. But anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great story, Michelle, and I'd love to know more about it. I'd like to see if it was maybe reported in more trustworthy news publications, possibly.
Yeah. I know. Do you know what? I'll put some links in the show note if I find a more credible source.
Extra, read all about it.
Give me the scoop.
Eavesdroppin' Wednesday, there's no doubt about it.
Eavesdroppin'. As I was looking into this case, I found another case. And this is actually in the Washington Post, so more credible. And this does come from a lot of sources. So strap in. And
oh, I'm strapped up.
Yeah, and trigger warning because it's not nice. But anyway. So this happened in 2017 in the early hours of July 15 in a place called Kulbau in Pocono, which is about 110 miles north of Philadelphia in the USA. Okay. So a 911 call was made by a 42-year-old woman called Barbara Rogers, and she told the operator My boyfriend had a gun. He told me to hold it here and press the trigger. Oh my God, he's dead. That was the 911 call, right? So when the Pennsylvania police arrived on the scene, they found Barbara's boyfriend, 32-year-old Steven Mineo. He was dead from a close-range .45 bullet wound in his head, right? And unsurprisingly, Barbara was immediately arrested and charged with her boyfriend's murder.
She did it, and it was recorded as she did it.
Yeah. So, I mean, on the surface of this all seems pretty straightforward. You know, like Barbara had the gun. She put it to Stephen's head. She pulled the trigger. Boom. Now she's in jail. But
yeah, it's all on tape.
All on tape. But this case is anything but straightforward, because when Barbara's trial began for the first-degree murder of Steven, Barbara claimed in court that an alien cult made her do it.
Oh, God. The Raelians, is it?
No. She was a member. Well, she and Steven, they were both members of the Sherry Shriner cult.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. Well, you will know who I'm talking about, because they believe in aliens, apocalypse conspiracy theories, and our favorite, that reptilian aliens are secretly living as humans.
Okay.
I.e., the Queen is a lizard.
Yes.
So she was the one that first put that forward, that the Queen is
David
a lizard.
Icke was. David Icke was the first one, wasn't
I
he?
believe he may have got this from Sherry Shriner.
Okay.
But before I move on with this case, I did look into Sherry. Turns out she died in January 2021. And so really recent. And she was apparently an Ohio-based American conspiracy theorist who claimed she was a messenger of the Most High God. And she said her ideas were not ideas, but prophecies, and that we are all ruled by a new world order run by reptilian aliens posing as the world leaders. Yeah. And yes, she says the Queen is a lizard, Obama's a lizard, you know. But she also said, and this goes back to another episode we did, that all Jewish people are Satan's offspring.
Oh, see, this is the thing.
Yep. This whole
anti-Semitic theories are just anti-Semitism. Is Trump a lizard? No.
She didn't mention that.
He's the saviour from the lizards.
Well, yeah.
That's what the Q people think, I think.
I think you're onto something there. I mean, I should look into that and see if Trump is meant to be like lizard world saviour. But she also was promoting the idea that orgone. And I know what orgone is because...
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah, I actually have some. It's basically resin that's been infused with like magnetic kind of properties, and you know, it's meant to emit this vibration that's very healing in the home. And I got some just for the house, and I don't know if it actually works or not, and I certainly don't know if it repels lizard people and aliens. But apparently if you buy this orgone from her, it will save you and protect you from the lizard people. Right. So in 2016, Sherry Shriner said that 90% of people on TV were either a clone or a synthetic robotoid. Wow. Right? And out of every 4 humans, only 1 is real, and we are at critical mass. People.
It's a bit like the birds aren't real.
Yeah. And look,
oh my goodness.
I know. And by all accounts, she was excellent at promoting herself as a messiah and spreading her message. Like, she was one of the first people on YouTube. Like, she was a real early adopter of YouTube to be promoting herself. She published ebooks. She was all over social media, and she had thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, including Barbara and Steven. So apparently Barbara shot Steven in the head because she claims Steven wanted to die because Sherry's cult ruined his life. So, and I looked into this, and according to reports, Steven and Barbara were initially like pretty happy being members of Sherry's cult, but things all went a bit wrong when Barbara, on her Facebook, just her personal Facebook, put up a post saying that she absolutely loved tartare and she really enjoyed eating raw meat. And honestly, like in Europe, people are fucking mad for tartare here. Like everyone's eating it. So it's not really a big deal. But apparently...
I know where this is going. I bet I know where this is going.
Well, Sherry Schreiner happened to read this post and basically said, she's a lizard. She's not human.
Oh, okay. I thought, you know what I thought it was going to be?
No.
Was that if you eat raw meat, there might be bacteria that can affect your brain, like Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, you know, CJD, the mad cow disease. I thought that's where we were going with that, and that she killed her boyfriend because she had CJD.
No. More insane than that. So,
okay.
So Sherry,
so because she eats meat, she's a lizard. Because lizards they like to eat raw meat, do they?
Well, according to her, she obviously was alarmed by Barbara's post and said, "You're not human." And she said, and this is quotes, "There's only certain types of people who crave the raw meat because they crave blood. Those with the vampire demon in them."
Oh,
and she warned Steven that Barbara was possessed. And,
shit.
And look, this obviously really upset Steven because he did not believe that his girlfriend Barbara was a lizard. And so he got really
pissy
about it and thought, right, I'm going to expose Sherry. She's a fraud. You know, she's telling people that they're a lizard just because they like to eat a bit of steak tartare. So he started uploading videos trying to prove that Sherry was a fraud. And he uploaded 5 videos between May 29 and July 1 in 2017 trying to expose her. So literally the last one he put up was 2 weeks before he died. Now, Sherry was not having any of this and she kicked Barbara and Steven out of the cult. And she basically said that Barbara was a vampire witch reptilian super soldier.
All of it. All of those things.
She's the whole kit and caboodle. So on July 15, Steven and Barbara, they'd sort of had enough and they were like, fuck it, let's go get drunk. And they went to a local bar and they were drinking until 2 a.m. And then after they finished, they went back to Steven's flat and according to reports, when they got home, Steven was like, hey, let's go out the back into the woods and shoot a gun. So they did. I mean, and I don't know. I don't know if that's an American thing. But yeah, so they went out, you know, shot some, God knows what, some trees. I have no clue. But
let's shoot up a tree.
Yeah.
I mean, why? That's weird.
I don't know. But, you know, when they finished doing that, they went back inside to Steven's flat. And apparently Barbara says that Steven was just kind of at the end of his tether with all the harassment from the cult because Sherry was saying things about Barbara and trying to paint a bad picture about Steven because Steven was obviously trying to discredit her. So after they got back, he said that he just had enough and he apparently asked Barbara to shoot him in the head.
Whoa.
So when police arrived, Barbara was apparently adamant that Steven had forced her to pull the trigger, but she also said that she didn't know the gun was loaded. So it's a bit contradictory.
At what point does she pick up the fucking phone and dial 999 while she's doing this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Pointing a fucking gun at his head.
It just, none of it makes sense.
It doesn't. So,
and look, the prosecutors weren't having that, and they insist that she shot her boyfriend deliberately, which, I mean, she did. You know, her hand was holding the gun. But, I mean, I don't know because, you know, there is something else that I'll come to that in a moment. But she apparently was given the option to plead guilty to third-degree murder before the trial began, which meant she would have been jailed for 10 to 15 years. But she refused because she was like, I was forced to do this. And her belief that she wasn't responsible was really strong. This shooting obviously hit the headlines and Sherry Schreiner knew about it. And she went online and said Barbara had these are her words. Barbara had morphed her huge teeth out. Whatever the fuck that even means. I have no clue what that even means. But anyway, and she said that Barbara...
She revealed her lizard teeth.
Yes.
Do lizards have teeth?
Do they? I don't think so.
I don't think they do.
They're not like, I mean...
Snakes with fangs.
Yeah, we've been close to lizards.
Yeah, goannas.
And monitors. And I don't think they have big teeth. They're just scary. So Barbara basically said, oh, are you? Go.
Yeah.
Go. Duck, duck, go. Barbara just basically said that, okay, before Barbara killed Steven, she obviously must have shown Steven that she was a lizard. She also said that she had warned Steven that Barbara was going to destroy him. And she was like, and look, she did. So, she then went to her congregation saying, see, I had a prophecy. That's why I'm a Messiah. I said that she would destroy him and show her true nature, and here she is. So,
They do have teeth, by the way, but they're not very big.
Okay. Well, morphed her huge teeth out. I don't know what the hell Sherry Schreiner was on about, but she was also reported as saying when the demon manifested in her...
Yeah.
If it was the demon or a lizard, if she had both, she said a human is no match for that kind of supernatural strength. But she said the one thing I did know is she was no good. So, Sherry Schreiner is slamming Barbara.
She's slamming it, and she's coming up with all these ridiculous ways in which she's killed her boyfriend. But the man died of a shotgun to the temple. I mean, that's rapid. That's what happened. She didn't tear him to shreds. She didn't get her teeth out. Or maybe she's being metaphorical. I
have no clue. I just think Sherry Schreiner she just wanted to put lizard into any kind of conversation. But, look, if there had been in the autopsy some kind of weird puncture mark on the neck that no one could decipher, what animal did it, maybe there'd be something to this. But, I mean, it's just clearly dude got shot in the head. But after Steven's death, Barbara reportedly told investigators, and she later claimed at her murder trial, that Steven did believe that Sherry was in fact a lizard and was masquerading as a human being. And,
oh my God.
I mean, it all got really messed up.
The worm that turned.
Really? And Sherry apparently just didn't care about that, because after she found out about Steven's death, she just basically saw this as an opportunity to make big dollar, and she urged all her followers to donate to her and to buy protective orgone. And she put the price right up, and it was $288 a pop. So she was making money off this, and, she was trying to just scare people. So, look, in the end, Barbara went to trial in March 2019, and she was convicted of not first-degree murder, but third-degree murder.
What's the third degree?
As far as I can understand, you are not as culpable. So it's not premeditated, and third-degree murder is a lesser charge. So although if she had pleaded, she would have got less years, because she was sentenced to 15 to 40 years in prison.
Oof.
And it's reported that she said she was not in control of the situation that happened. And she said, I was not the dominating party in that situation. I read that she was absolutely going to appeal the sentence, because she felt like she'd been wrongly sent down. And she genuinely thinks it's not her fault, and that Steven wanted her to shoot him in the head. And at the trial, she even said that after they had gone out and shot the guns, and then they went back to his place, he was apparently just distraught about falling out with Sherry and all the other followers in the cult, and that he pressed the gun to his head, grabbed her hands, and then he forced her to pull the trigger. So she is not responsible.
During this time, she managed with her other hand. What year is this again?
2017.
Okay, so she could have had a mobile, whipped it out of her back pocket, wherever, quickly dialed 999 while she's got the other hand. I mean, this is just too hard to believe.
It is hard to believe.
Oh, I've got my hand in a gun and it's up against my boyfriend's head and he's making me do it. Oh, he's dead.
Yeah, I mean, none of this makes any sense. And, I think the courts were like flummoxed by this because,
I'm flummoxed.
Yeah. And I think they really, gave her the third-degree murder charge and sentence because I think, with all of this stuff about the cult and the aliens and the lizard people, I think they just felt like she had an element of diminished responsibility here. But according to her, she does not feel responsible at all. And look, there was a quote from Steven's family who absolutely do not think that, she should have been let off so lightly because there's a quote from Steven's aunt who had said, "It's amazing that somebody could put a gun to somebody else's head, blow their brains out, and a jury finds them guilty of third-degree murder and not first."
Yeah.
She got a big break today. So, the family is,
Auntie.
Yeah, really upset about how that case went down. So, yeah, it's not good. And that is the case of the aliens, lizard people.
Acts of God, aliens and lizard people.
Yeah, but look, I mean, we had aliens, conspiracy theories, true crime,
cults.
Murder cults. It's just like tick, 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 tick.
Jam-packed. Jam-packed full of all the crazy things that you like to hear when you're listening to Eavesdroppin.
Eavesdroppin, yeah. So there it is.
Wow, Michelle.
Did you steal my scrunchie?
Oh, have a look in your hair bag.
Oh, sorry, pet. What was that? Yeah, no, really, it's been a very quiet week. And I quite like a quiet week.
Except for the Oscars.
Oh, yes. And except for your guinea pigs. I can hear them. They're like scratching around.
They're drinking out of the water container. They've been asleep this whole time and now they've just done this and it's very annoying. I'm just like, fucking shut up.
Oh, it's because they've heard about aliens. And how about you? Anything else happened to you?
No.
Okay. Well, there it is. Well, I guess that's the end.
Well, Michelle, with that in mind, I think that the last possible thing we can now do is just beg our listeners that whatever they do
and wherever you are,
just keep eavesdropping.
Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping.
Dropping.
Eavesdropping.
Dropping.
Eavesdropping. Eavesdropping.
Dropping.